This is common sense. 99% of the people in this country would not want a criminal living next door to them having a gun. That's pretty simple, basic logic. Now, there are a lot of gray areas in the gun issue, and I understand that. Nobody is talking about mayors coming together and saying, let's take guns away from hunters, let's take guns away from legally owned owners, but mayors against illegal guns. And I want to emphasize that at the beginning, illegal guns. And one of the things that we're here to talk about is a common sense approach to how do we keep that from happening? How do we keep criminals in particular, people who shouldn't have guns, people who have mental problems that are recognized in a community from getting access to guns? And one of those that has worked successfully is expanding background checks for gun purchases. Last spring, Ohio Senator Rob Portman voted against Senators Joe Manchin and Pat Toomey's bipartisan bill that would have closed those loopholes that now makes it easier for criminals and dangerous people to get guns. Senator Portman repeatedly misstates the facts about sensible gun safety measures, saying that background checks would be a burden for law-abiding gun owners and sportsmen. Quite frankly, it's not now. It simply isn't true. Background checks are relatively quick and easy, and they do help save lives. While Senator Portman tries to distract people of Ohio with irrelevant facts and figures, he fails to mention that background checks right now have helped block more than 5,000 dangerous individuals just in Ohio from buying guns, just last year. Portman fails to mention that in states that require background checks for private handgun sales, fewer women are killed with guns by intimate partners, the gun suicide rate is lower, and fewer police officers are gunned down in the line of duty. Those are facts. We all should know better, and Senator Portman, you should know better. We know that bipartisan Toomey-Manchin background checks legislation would have not only permitted dangerous people from obtaining guns, it would have actually strengthened the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding gun owners by reaffirming the existing ban on a federal firearms registry. Senators Toomey and Manchin crafted a strong compromise that would require background checks for all gun sales in a commercial setting. However, Senator Portman joined the minority of U.S. senators who voted to block this compromise. Now, I need to point out, and I've had this before when I've criticized senators, that my own Senator Brown criticizes me because I don't differentiate. Let me differentiate. Senator Brown, we need to thank for doing the right thing because he did vote in favor of this common sense legislation. He listened to his constituents and stood up for safety and refused to cower before the Washington gun lobby. Background checks won't stop. Let's admit it. They're not going to stop every incident of gun violence, but they will undoubtedly help save lives. Surely our leaders in Congress have an obligation to do whatever they can to prevent bloodshed and stem the tide of rising gun violence in America. We actually should have done something a long time ago, but we have a moral imperative to do something right now. Expanding the current enforceable background check system to gun sales in commercial settings would reduce crime and save lives without imposing any new record-keeping burden on private citizens. So we are here together to urge one simple thing. Urge Senator Portman to reconsider his vote against expanding background checks for gun purchases. Simply, background checks can make our communities safer and save lives. And I thank all of those behind me for having the good common sense to stand here in support of this in spite of the controversy and somebody waving a flag and holding up other things like apple pie and claiming that's America. America is not about allowing criminals to have guns to kill people. That cannot be what America is all about.